The new 107.1 The Boss, classic rock of the 70s, 80s, and more. It's Michele and this Saturday, April 6th, we are going to be partying like it's 1983 at the Asbury Lanes.
Still 1980 as far as I'm concerned.
So welcome, Frankie Banali, to the new 107.1 The Boss. I'm Michele Amabile. Quiet Riot, as you know, coming to the Asbury Lanes on April 6th. It's going to be an awesome show. Quiet Riot in the house, mental health driving us crazy. Frankie, what can we expect, man?
Well, for the show that we're bringing in, we're going to be playing a lot of the material off of the Mental Health record because that's fans really remember the band most about. But I'm also going to include a number of things from Condition Critical, or second record, and QR3, and a couple of deeper tracks. So it's going to be a lot of fun. I think if you're a fan of Quiet Riot, you're going to appreciate the material we're going to play. If you're not as familiar because you've been in A&AK for the last 35 years, you're going to be surprised. So all good.
Now, Quiet Riot has the distinction of being the band to keep Thriller at bay. The first #1 heavy metal album, I believe.
Yes, it was. November. It was in November of 1983. We jumped over Michael Jackson and then jumped over the Police's Synchronicity. So we knocked out pop, funk, and we also knocked out new wave. It was fun. It was a fun week.
Now, how did that feel? Like, did that blow your minds at the time? I know it would have blown my mind seeing that because, king of pop, and then here you are, you crushed it.
Yeah, it was interesting because at the time that the album went #1, we were still a support act, and we were out on the road supporting Black Sabbath on the Born Again tour. So on the one hand, it was popping bottles of Dom Perignon, but at the same time, it was stopping at a truck stop and getting a greasy cheese sandwich after the show. So it balanced out.
Now you have a new singer, newish singer. He's been with you a while, Mr. James Durbin from American Idol. It's a great story how you guys all got together, but I want to hear the story from you.
Yeah, I didn't know James, and my only association with him had been when he was on season 10 of American Idol, and I didn't watch the show at the time. And a friend of mine called me up and said, there's finally a rock guy on American Idol. So I checked it out, and I saw him singing with Judas Priest, and I said to myself, yeah, this kid has pipes. And then, I turned the TV off, and out of sight, out of mind. And a number of years later, we found ourselves in the position that we needed to replace a singer. And as it ended up, our guitarist, Alex Grassi, was working on a side project with James. And he said, well, what do you think about James? And I said, well, let's give it a shot. And he came in, and he did great. And he's been with us now for 2 years. So far, so good.
Now, what's cool about James is he came in and worked on lyrics with you, did he not?
Yeah, what happened is all the music was written for an album that came out last year, August of last year, that was called Road Rage. So all the music was written. So he had the task and on a very short timeline to write all the lyrics and all the melodies for those songs, and he did a phenomenal job. We were able to get the album released on time, and then subsequently last April, we recorded a live record in Milan, Italy, which was just released January 25th of this year. Oh, that's my dog, by the way. I bet you know. And Quiet Riot never stops. I mean, right now we're almost done recording the next studio record, which I hope will come out probably at the end of this year.
Again, we are joined by Frankie Banali, drummer of Quiet Riot. Quiet Riot coming to the Asbury Lanes this Saturday, April 6th. Now, how are the fans embracing James? I mean, Kevin DuBrow, those are mighty big boots to fill. He had a phenomenal metal voice and hit some crazy notes, crazy range. That's one of the best screams in rock.
Yeah, Kevin was one of a kind. There's never going to be anyone like him again, and it was never a case of replacing Kevin. Sadly, he passed away, and you had, or rather, I had some choices to make. So it was never about replacing Kevin. He's irreplaceable. Amazing singer, amazing performer, my best friend, just a really funny guy. And we went through a lot of trial and error with a number of different singers that, at the end of the day didn't work out. James has been the one that first of all, he's younger than all of us, so he's got this energy that Kevin always had. So that was a plus. But he's got a great voice and he's got a great range, and it's possible for him to interpret the songs that Kevin sang in a manner that not only I expect, but the fans expect.
What do you think Kevin would have thought of Terry's show, Botched, Dr. Dubrow? You ever watched the show?
He probably would have brought girlfriends in and tried to get a deal. I mean, that would be a typical Kevin, somebody really messed up on a breast implant, and he would want to bring in, some girl in and then want it done for free or at least the cheapest way possible.
That is so rock and roll.
That was Kevin. God bless him.
If there were ever a Quiet Riot biopic, kind of like Motley Crue's The Dirt, what would that look like? I mean, you guys play with a lot of big bands.
Well, we went a different route. A number of years ago, there was a Quiet Riot documentary that was released. It was titled Quiet Riot, Well, Now You're Here, There's No Way Back. And that chronicles the band's history, not just from the mental health point, but even before that, when Randy Rhoads was in the band, all the way through real time at that point in time. And so we went a completely different route, and I made available to the filmmakers, I made all my archives available. So there's all this amazing footage from, back in the 80s and all the way through real time. So we went a different route. If we were to go, the scripted actor situation, as long as they got, Johnny Depp to play me, I'd be okay with however it turned out. I don't care if they wrote in a pirate scene that we never did. That's fine.
Frankie, would they go completely into your backstory? I mean, look at all the bands you played with. Faster Pussycat, Billy Idol, who, by the way, is going to be in town a couple of days before you at the Basie doing his acoustic thing.
I love Billy. Billy's great. I haven't seen him in many, many years because we've had different musical paths. He's great. But no, the Quiet Riot documentary was specifically about Quiet Riot and my time in Quiet Riot. So we really didn't touch on anything having to do with Billy Idol or Wasp or any of the other things that I was involved in. That would be a completely and totally different story.
Well, I could just imagine the stories you have with Blackie Lawless, but that's for another day.
Oh, you have no idea. You can only imagine, and that would just be a very, very, very watered down version.
Blackie's insane.
Yeah, he is. I've known him since before I was in Quiet Riot and before he did Wasp. He was in a band with Arthur Kane from the New York Dolls. They were called Killer Kane, and at one point they were considering having me play drums until they deemed me to be too dangerous.
Too dangerous.
Too dangerous. Yeah.
Wasn't Blackie in a band with Nikki Sixx?
Yes, they were in a band. They were in a band together, and he's told me many stories, none of which I can even remotely repeat. I mean, if you come down to the show, I'll tell you, as long as you don't have a weak stomach.
Oh, I have a pretty strong stomach, I think.
Okay, then you have to make a point of coming, and I will tell you this particular story, and then I want to see your reaction.
Oh, I'm coming.
All right, that's it.
Coming to the State
night. Date night.
Date night, you, me, Frankie. Well, Frankie, thank you so much for checking in with 107.1 The Boss. We can't wait to see the show, Asbury Lanes. It's on April 6th. It's going to rock the house. You're going to do most of the Mental Health album?
I think we're at this point, we're actually doing everything except, I think, one song that we're not doing, but pretty much the entire Mental Health record. And a few things from Condition Critical and QR3 and on and on. A couple of deep tracks as well.
Excellent. Looking forward to it. Thank you so much for checking in with 107.1 The Boss.
Love you. I'll see you, and get ready for stories.
Story time. Should I bring a blanket?
Absolute date night. Bring a blanket.
Oh, Frankie, you're funny.
All right.
Quiet Riot, Asbury Lanes, Asbury Park, Saturday, April 6th. Thank you, Frankie, from Quiet Riot, for checking in to 107.1 The Boss. The Boss.